All right. Seems to be working.
Cool.
Let's maybe even center this a little. Nice. Yeah, so that's a little preview of what we will be doing this evening.
Yeah.
So if you're around 7 p.m. Japan time, so probably 8 in the morning
Yeah.
in North America,
Yeah.
we'll be doing a little
Game of Brawl Arcane.
Brawl Arcane. Yeah, Brawl Arcane 28, yes. And yeah, do you have a board?
I brought a board. I was
nice.
late for daycare this morning by about 10 minutes because I was desperately trying to find a bag that fit my 38 centimeter just sheet. I'm like, this is literally just a sheet of foam core. It's not thick. It's just a little bit kind of wide and square. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
And I didn't just want to look like a complete weirdo, just carrying it loose. If it had been small or if it had folded up, I would have carried it just loose.
Yeah.
But this giant square, I'm just I can't ride a bike and carry this thing. But anyway, I got it. So yeah.
Nice. Oh, and I hold up my hot wire foam cutter for you there.
Nice.
So we can do all kinds. That's what I did the Frostgrave stuff with the Lego. Yeah, that's how I cut all the icy
nice
pieces.
I finally scored a piece of 5 centimeter thick of that blue extruded foam, the stuff that's so good for. And I'm like, okay, I just need to cut straight lines on this thing to build it. But I'm just you could do that with an X-Acto, but I bet a hot wire.
Yeah, and they have those foam saws too, but they generate so much dust and and that stuff static electricity sticks to everything, so you'll never get rid of it. Yeah, I think the hot wire they have tables. They have hot wire tables too. Oh,
well, let's just wish for more shit I'll never get. Yeah, that hot wire table could just be
that's crazy. Yeah. And they also have wands, because I saw someone doing detailed sculpture basically in foam. So it's just like a wand,
like a soldering iron.
Yeah, exactly. Like a thin, and you just write in the foam can do deep cuts and stuff. All right, so so you got your minis.
Yep,
together.
Got my whole little case of them. Yep.
Nice.
Most of them are still stuck together with blue tack.
Well, there'll be -1 to all your rolls if I can see any blue tack.
Oh, geez, that's kind of sloppy.
Mine got a little darker and swampier than I thought. But they came out nice. Pretty well. I did just that combination of contrast paints and a bunch of washes and stuff.
Yeah, contrast paint gets kind of dark when you wash it.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, you do have to bring it up, because the face of my caster,
it's
wizard,
shadow.
But it was it's like he's got this skin mask on. It looks like he ripped the skin off of a goat and is wearing it on his face. And I thought there was more detail in it, and I did it black because the goat is black. And it's just this is not. It's just like a black bag with two sunken eyes. So I should have done it maybe a lighter color, but I'll do some highlighting and try to bring out some detail.
I still haven't brought myself to try any oil washes yet, because I got some cheap oil paints and that supposedly odorless mineral spirits, whatever to clean up. I don't really have time or space. It's one of those things I could probably do this outside, but also I'm okay, what if I put it on the board? I don't know how that stuff's going to react to foam. Yes. So I kind of want to spray it with some at least semi-gloss or matte varnish first, then try it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I haven't been brave enough to do anything with oils, just because the cleanup. I mean, I did so much oil painting in school. I was I remember.
I remember this. Yeah.
But I've seen people get some really nice effects and stuff you just can't get. Yeah, with acrylics. Nice. Oh, let me check the chat real quick. Hey, Joe. Oh, Joe and K5. Nice. Hey. Ooh, and Joe is wielding his mighty wrench. Good to see you guys. Yeah, and K5's, we just got last week the notification, 6 months.
Ooh. Yeah, we need to come up with some kind of loyalty.
Yeah. The badge keeps increasing
in size.
No, they just the faction changes. So right now, K5 is Imperial.
Ooh.
Oh no, that might be the highest. Imperial might be the highest. Yeah. Because I don't think I went beyond.
Oh no, Legion.
The mega corporations.
No Brotherhood or Dark Legion.
Got to come up with something else now. I'm getting.
Like I said, the Chronopia ones.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Oh, speaking of Chronopia, I'll mention this in the regular cast too. So, this Saturday evening, North American time, Sunday morning, Japan time, the prologue for Chronopia is going to be released. So
nice.
I did a video, and it's just all the setup to like the time of the game. So
Cool.
all the kind of prologue, stuff that happened in advance, and just kind of the origins, and as general as possible, because I know that the new game may be changing the lore and taking it. So I didn't want to contradict anything. Just kind of give you the basic setup of the factions, how they're opposed to each other, and everything.
I forget. Oh, it's a watch that.
Yeah. So that was fun. It's been a while. I put the script on Patreon.
Oh, cool.
And got some feedback from the patrons. So that was good, because I've been kind of fussing with that thing forever. And
it's nice to have that external thing, because otherwise you'll just you'll just I don't even know what to call it. Just keep working on stuff until it's I'm never done.
Right. Yes. So I finally got that good. Yes. Yeah. So I gotta get some more monthly rewards. Oh, and I also I have to get Chronopia for the members too. That's the frustrating part, is there's no connection between Patreon and YouTube for videos. So I'll have to load both up.
Right. There's kind of no integration there.
Yeah. There's no way, because if you make a members video, then nobody else can see. I can't share it with patrons, so there's got to be two. So I'm making 3 versions of everything, basically.
Yeah.
a public version, and then the premium editions, which are in 4K. So so keep an eye out for that.
So if you have a 4K TV.
Yeah, right. Then you can really enjoy. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get started for this week.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys in the chat. All right. Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on the Weekly, Secret Weapon Miniatures closes.
Oh.
They announced that a bit ago, but now we know why.
Okay.
Teberu is still a thing.
Okay.
So the imminent release of the interactive game system, a not the best edition of the Cypher system, OGL. So they just announced they're going to do an open game license.
Okay.
And Saudi Arabia invests in the Embracer Group.
Oh.
So they just made a big purchase
of
a stake in Embracer. So now all the forces of evil are coalescing behind this this Lovecraftian nightmare.
Kind of. Well, I was going to say it's bizarre, but it's not.
Yeah. It's actually, that's been a thing they've been doing for a while, gaming. So we'll talk about that. So let's start out with something a little bit easier. Or actually, this is the worst news. Actually, this is the saddest thing first. So Secret Weapon Miniatures, they do some amazing bases, custom bases, paints and things. They have dungeon tiles.
Oh, nice.
They do a lot of things for wargaming and miniatures. And they announced in August of last year that they would be closing. So on Facebook, they said after 12 years, it looks like we're going to be shutting our doors, and this is based on a dispute that we now know some details of. We don't know the full, I guess because it's still in litigation. Right. We don't know the full situation, but now we know what happened. Okay. So there was a dispute. There was a Kickstarter campaign for their HD bases. So they do very detailed scenic bases of all different sizes, basically for Warhammer and just about any 32 or 28 mil games. And they had a successful Kickstarter. They went to fulfill it and got claimed. The IP was claimed by Trolltrader. So Trolltrader TT Combat is claiming that that's their intellectual property, and there's no way they can actually be selling those and be generating money. And so that makes it impossible for them to fulfill this project, because I guess they went to Kickstarter and they just shut it down. So the project was totally ruined. But I don't know what happened to the funds. They didn't say.
All right. I don't know what happens to funds when Kickstarter shuts something down.
Yeah,
like
when they claim.
I
Yeah.
would have assumed they get returned to.
I would imagine, that if they're not going to disperse them, they go back,
Right.
probably minus a fee.
Yeah, that's what I imagine. So, okay, as someone who's kind of just hearing about this, I guess what you said, it was Trolltrader who brought the claim. Are they claiming that the bases put out by this company are identical to ones they developed?
Well, it's a little confusing because Trolltrader doesn't look like they do anything original. They're just a online shop, because they sell Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, and everything. And they have a pretty big presence like on eBay and things. And they also sell secret weapon miniature bases, and they are still selling them. Okay. So maybe at some point there was some confusion that they had bought the rights to that design and the company still existed, and there was some misunderstanding. Well, we don't know those details.
Right. Okay.
But there was just, so Trolltrader just shut down this Kickstarter, and that made it impossible for Secret Weapon to continue. So they just said, yeah, that's it. We're done. So they still... So the owner, or the kind of person that's speaking for the company, said they can't do any work as Secret Weapon anymore. They contracted out for things that are remaining in their warehouse, which doesn't include bases. It's their paints and dungeon tiles. Right. So those are still available for purchase. I don't know, the fund may go. But what happened was, because of this... dispute, thank you. For the dispute with the Kickstarter, they lost those funds and then defaulted on a loan that they had. So a bank loan with USBank, I guess, was defaulted on, and that was it. That was it for the company. So they are claiming, Secret Weapon is claiming that the claims are completely false. So there's no basis in reality for this, but the damage has been done. So it doesn't even matter, like, if they are redeemed because the company's gone.
I'm not saying this is what Trolltrader did, because we don't have details, but this kind of sounds like one of the cases where, like, because, they didn't get the money and they defaulted on a loan, as you said, it kind of doesn't matter whether Secret Weapon Miniatures is right or wrong, because they're not going to have the funds to pay for legal fees to take this to court. Or to,
Yeah, that's true. Yes, there's no recourse. So they try, and the frustrating thing too is, so this doesn't seem to be in completely good faith, because Secret Weapon reached out to Trolltrader and said, okay, if you really believe this, then let us pay for a license for this property that you own so we can get this Kickstarter fulfilled. And they said, no. So that doesn't sound like a good faith. It just sounds like they want to, eliminate something. Yeah, that sounded pretty miserable. But there was a statement released, so as an update on the failed campaign, Justin McCoy posted a statement basically explaining the situation, that they default in their debts to USBank, and so that means that USBank owns the Secret Weapon IP, and until that can be settled, and they have not been posting any public posts or comments about this until this point because of the ongoing situation. So people were really freaked out. They didn't know what was going on, because just suddenly radio silence, and now the company announced that they're closing. So still their paints and dungeon tiles are available on the site, and they'll be shipped out. There'll be a shipment once a week. So they're just going to go through remaining. So if you really liked some of their stuff, this is probably the last chance to get any of it. And so the last line of the update, it is with the great sadness that I can say little and do less. Right. So very sad to see the end of that. And now it doesn't even matter what the truth is, because those little bit of shenanigans destroyed the company. So there's no way to. So the IP still exists, so it could resurrect at some point if somebody buys it from USBank. I guess that brand could exist again someday, but. As for right now, as Secret Weapon as we know it, and 12 years, that's pretty good for a tabletop company. I think they were doing mostly everything online. They were and doing original stuff. So, those are the dangers of Kickstarter, I guess. Is you can get somebody to complain and totally.
I don't know if it's a danger of Kickstarter. It's kind of a danger of, unless you apply to like the entire legal system, because there has to be some kind of recourse. Otherwise, people going like, that's mine. Right. So
but I'm sure Kickstarter is a little bit skittish. Like I'm sure anybody complains, they're just like, oh, shut it down. Yeah. So whereas legally it would have probably been in the works for a little while. Yeah. So that's too bad. But so if you were a fan, we can all mourn now the passing of Secret Weapon Miniatures. Right. And strangely enough, if you go to Trolltrader, all of their bases are still available there.
They're probably still at stock.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So we'll see what that means. And I guess they're going to then be in conflict with USBank if they're going to keep producing that stuff under that name, because that name doesn't exist anymore.
I don't know.
It's very odd. So there'll be another IP dispute to look forward to. So Trolltrader lives up to their name, right?
Wow. Okay. Yeah. As I don't know anything that much about either of these companies, I'm reserving judgment. But
right. All right. Well, another company that has a product with a a very odd. I don't understand why companies do this. Very odd name. So we talked about these guys a couple years ago, I think, because
it's not recent.
Yeah, because the Kickstarter was successful and their fulfillment date was so far in the future. I think it was like 2020 or 2021, and the fulfillment is next year still.
Well, better to
yes, that's
promise something far away and then do it
and it's
opposite.
technology too. So that is there's much more testing and perfecting of manufacturing than there is for just board games in plastic. But Teberu, so the weird kind of katakana pronunciation of table. So this is an Italian company named Xplored, and they have some kind of veterans of the interactive toy business where toys with chips in them are talking to video games or
now I'm thinking of the horrible movie Small Soldiers, but continue.
Right. Like there was Disney had one for a while, Disney Infinity.
And
then there was like the Sky Chaser, Sky Bounder, something.
I want to say Skylander or something.
Skylander,
like
I think that
and
was it.
We're also kind of similar to like the Nintendo ones.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
the Amiibo or something like that?
Right, the Amiibos with you can save stuff right to those. Yeah, so they're getting close to fulfillment. So the beginning of next year, they're going to start fulfilling on their Kickstarter, which was a bit of an odd Kickstarter because they weren't just selling the technology; they were selling miniatures and these expansions to a game that nobody had ever played, and it was odd. But this was just basically to promote their technology, and they also gave you they had a developers pack or something where they gave you like whatever you needed, like source code or whatever to let you develop your own games for this platform. So they may just be, as much as we're dismissing them right now, the future of board games and tabletop.
Well, maybe.
But I don't know. It doesn't sound all that convincing. So the big thing that they're solving is kind of the bookkeeping, randomization, and maybe even like setup. For some things that you would be doing on the tabletop. So what the system consists of is just a tablet, and which is just a sensitive piece of plastic that plugs in, or I think it actually is like Bluetooth, like it connects wirelessly. And then there are bases with LEDs that clip onto miniatures and wireless dice, as opposed to the wired version. So if you roll on this tablet, it knows what you rolled on the dice. It knows the location of the miniatures if they're on these bases, and different conditions and things can have different colored lights and things to indicate what's going on. So instead of like some of the other options that are out there, like Square One, which is like a giant iPad that you're interacting with, and it can display graphics and things. This is just a sensor tablet, basically, that you can print out a standardized page for, like a standardized grid map for, and interact with that. So, basically they could just send you a PDF, you print it out on your printer and lay it on top of this tablet. So that does lend itself a little bit more to indie development and homebrew kind of stuff. So they're blending kind of digital gaming with what we're getting used to is with a companion app, and that's also what we're doing is we're connecting it to a phone or a tablet. So the device
spit something out here. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So the device is still doing that, and people are seeing that as some sort of future. But there's such a limitation and such a unknown about what's going to happen to these smartphones. So this isn't a long-term solution because it's relying on smartphones kind of staying the same, and I don't know if they will.
It's funny. I pulled out an old phone I had, and it's tiny.
Right.
But I mean, like, I imagine, if they were giving, but I imagine there is something, right? They'd have to like update, put some new update, like, here's the new thing we're using. We've updated our software, and who knows what's going to happen with this. Yeah,
it's just, this was a thing. So I did an unboxing for the Return to Dark Tower, and that's the thing that they do is the tower doesn't do anything by itself. You have to link it to a phone or a device, and then the app will do all the randomization and all the cues, and you can do all the the difficulty settings and everything. So the tower by itself just kind of lights up. It just kind of like turns on and off. There's not even like a demo mode or anything. So it has to be connecting to, so that means there has to be software that has to be updated, that has to be going through a Google or an Apple app store. And you have to have a device that will run the current version, and you'll probably be doing like firmware updates to the tower. So that's not solving a lot. I mean, I guess like that solves like, writing down some numbers or drawing some cards.
I am by no means a Luddite, but for me, like, what does that solve? Like, it seems like, I don't know, it kind of seems like you're solving problems that don't really exist. Or, because, all right, apart from the dice, right, wireless dice as opposed to wired dice, like, okay, accessibility, right?
Yes.
Like, okay, I've kind of scoffed at them, but like, things like Braille dice or dice that will like connect to an app and read you the number that they've rolled or something. Like, okay, I get that. That's cool. Like, kind of not leveling the playing field, but kind of breaking down barriers so that everybody would be able to play.
Right.
That's usually not what happens, right? It's usually these like flashing lights and like, ooh, look at these edge lights, and it'll play a sound when you roll a certain number. And I'm just like, I guess, right? But unfortunately, like, accessibility aids are not popular, right? They're not fancy. Like, you kind of got to do the fancy thing to fund for the regular model. But,
that's true. Yeah, so that's true. This would, for various disabilities, this would give you access. And that's what they're trying to say, is that this is going to create fewer barriers to a tabletop experience. But actually, there's a lot of, like, if you're older, you can't interact with that technology anyhow, so it becomes an insane barrier. So, so this is happening, and it's coming out, and there's already some competition in this space. And I think the key to their success is going to rely on either a huge, like, homebrew kind of indie development, or them, working with Asmodee or some really big names to do officially licensed overlays and software for this device. So I don't know. But Garofalo, the head of the company Xplored, says the problem with board games. So they with competitors and their previous experience with interactive toys, I guess is what he's referring to here. So these toys didn't last long because the physical parts were just a plastic receipt of your purchase. The interaction was still just with a gamepad. Nothing really did any haptic interaction or physical of the physical good with the software. So that's what they're trying to do by having the interactive dice and moving the pieces. The technology and the physical thing are linked much more, where it's not just this is your save, this is how you save things, or this is how you change your costume or character just by switching toys. But so it sounds like there's a lot of potential there, but it's going to have to be embraced, and there's really going to have to be a need for it. And also that means the cost, it's going to have to and the Kickstarter itself, I looked at it, and the pledge levels were starting at 150, 250, 300, 400, like really quickly, and you're investing in completely unknown technology that may at some point be suddenly not supported. And so the apps drop off the app store, and you have a piece of plastic with a USB cable on it. I don't know.
Well, this doesn't sound like it's okay. I'd be interested to see what they do with it. Doesn't sound like it's for me. However, like we've talked many times, this sounds like exactly the thing for Kickstarter, right? This is kind of what Kickstarter is for. Like, we've got this new idea. We're not going to be able to produce it on our own. If it sounds cool to you, help us make it a reality, right? So not any kind of new cutting edge thing, but like with any tech, like it's going to start off expensive, and if it catches on, then
when they
start to come down in price.
Release. So and maybe they're avoiding some of the pricier things, like having an actual like large interactive tablet with a giant LCD inside is not exactly, that's never going to be affordable. So maybe this is a way to make interactive tabletop make more sense, but still having it tethered to a device is the thing, to something out of your pocket with your fingerprints all over it, that what you're handing around.
I'm sure it goes to different, you can have it go to different phones, and people would have different accounts, and I don't know, I don't really understand the need to have it on a phone, right? Maybe like it would have to display on something, right?
And that would also be the source of any sound effects or music or anything as well, which is never great. I mean, a phone
imagine if your phones aren't synced up, and it's like 4 versions of the same tavern song, all slightly out of tune. Right? He was like, "Oh, can we just kill those, please?"
Yeah. And I think the problem that has happened, and HeroQuest, the new Hasbro release of the HeroQuest, has this problem a little bit, where you can almost just play the game in the app. It's like, oh, I guess I could move the pieces to match what is on the app, but I'm basically playing the game.
Like I haven't really looked at it that much, but the new version of Descent
has a
is
companion
somehow app integrated, and people were either singing its praises or saying it was terrible. And I'm not going to buy it because it's not an unreasonable price. I'm not that much interested in it, right, for the price it is. But I wonder if it solves the problem of what you just said. Like, why do we have these physical components when we could just play on our phone or iPad or whatever? And okay, I get what Teberu is doing in terms of, okay, let's really marry the physical and digital components where you have to physically move the pieces and then it'll update the stuff. That's kind of interesting, right? Or at least kind of, okay, I see more of a reason for these, if not a sole reason, but
Yeah, so it is, and I think they're aware of that. It sounds like from the statement of the owner, it sounds like they're definitely aware of that needing to, there's be some synergy or some, kind of things need to be going on that require both, and that they're both benefiting each other. But who knows? Who knows if they'll successfully pull it off? But it hasn't been done yet. It hasn't been done well yet, because there was a whole system, a Golem Arcana or something. It had these miniatures with chips in them and had these boards and had this app. But all you were doing is updating the board to match what was happening on the app. So it was just like, okay, and that happened. So that there were AI enemies you were fighting, but you just looked on the app and okay, move him over here. Okay, so
right.
It's like, what? We don't need this board. Yeah. So and then very quickly, that stuff was being cleared out.
Now, I'm remembering something that I think was like cards, and not exactly the same thing, but they had like special borders around them, so that if you looked at it with some kind of like AR
an
camera app, you got like a 3D version of whatever was on the card kind of sending up, and that's kind of cool. Not exactly the same thing,
but yeah, I think that so they've been playing with what you can do on the tabletop with devices, but I don't know if we're there yet. So but people will find out. We'll start to hear reviews and actually like hands-on stuff in April of next year.
Oh, cool.
So we'll see if there is, because it could catch on. If this is something that is very easy to develop for, and you can just upload PDFs, and people can download your app or whatever component goes into the app
for it.
So whatever content that could be pretty interesting, but we won't know until next spring. So good luck with that. And they actually have to get these things physically in people's hands, so that should be still a challenge next year, I'm sure. So good luck with that. All right, so our next segment, I gotta be using these interstitials more. So here we go, one of our wonderful animations. Another edition of Not the Best. So this time we're talking about Monty Cook Games' Cypher system.
In which case, I think not the best. Being nice.
So of course we know 5e is the best rule set ever made. So because it's the world's greatest role-playing game. So anything under can't possibly be the best.
Exactly.
But we had some news. They announced that they will have an open gaming license for their Cypher system, and so it will go public this summer. And this is kind of based on the success they've had of the different games using the system that have been released. The most notable, and I think what it was developed for, was the Numenera game,
which I think is on the second edition.
Oh wow!
It's called Numenera. It's something else, where it's like an updated, more recent version of the game. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So and they followed that up with The Strange, First Responders, and I believe also the Appalachian game that was just kickstarted. That also was a Cypher system game itself. So so capitalizing on that success, they are releasing an open game license, so people will be able to use everything in that document to develop their own games for, which they can market and sell. So based in so Monty Cook is based in Kansas. So the Kansas publisher is Oh, and also they did release a kid-focused RPG set called No Thank You Evil.
Oh yeah, which I do not believe is Cypher system.
Oh really? Okay. So that's just
maybe I'm dead wrong, but the impression I got from No Thank You Evil was that it was not Cypher system.
Ah, okay. So
maybe it's something designed more for kids.
I see. Yeah, which would make sense. So if you don't know or never wanted to know anything about, so actually these games have been mostly successfully kickstarted.
Yep.
And if you don't know about the Cypher system, so a little bit of detail. So it is, so characters are built from a concept. And so the concept is a descriptive sentence that provides an easy to understand overview of the character and a mechanical basis for skills, abilities, and stats. So basically, an adjective, noun, who, verbs. No.
Okay, like I'm not disagreeing. And like I said, this one of the games we reviewed like years ago was Numenera.
Ah, yes.
And the adjective, verb, who, nouns, right? Sounds really exciting to me. Like it sounds like you would pull out these aspects very fate-esque. Fate-esque. It is an adjective, verb, who, nouns. But those things you fill in might as well be like a quarter to half a page of kind of what I feel were like D&D style feat mechanics.
Yes.
So I'm a jack. No, an adjective verb, a quick jack who fights with two swords. Okay, quick gives you like 2 paragraphs of mechanical abilities. Jack is like the class type, right? Which might as well be a fucking bard. Right. And fights with 2 swords is again like a quarter to a half a page of mechanics. So all their touting of like,
yes,
it's intuitive. Like, no, the fuck it isn't, right? Like, it sounds great.
Yeah.
It was very much not what I was looking for.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah. So that sentence is your basis for your concept, and so then from that you choose an archetype. So you only have 4. You have to match one of these 4. So adept, warrior, speaker, and kind of a catch-all explorer. So if it doesn't make any more sense than you're an explorer, you only have 3 stats. So might, speed, and intellect. So yeah, you've already covered this, but those are actually pools that then if you take damage, you lose points from those pools. They do regenerate, but so you have things that can affect your speed, things that can affect your intellect, but basically your HP is might. And then you get edges, like one of your stats may have an edge, which means it costs less to use it to power.
Like, because that's the other thing you can do with pools. The pools represent hit points, and they are points you can spend to basically like buff up your rolls. So on paper, I think it sounds really interesting where you've got these 3 pools and an interesting trade-off between spending them to be better at doing things versus losing them when you suffer damage, right? It's kind of like, it sounds like it has this cool death spiral thing where you're like, I've got to spend so many points to make sure I do this thing, but then if I get hit and whatever, and that's not really how that's how it works, but I felt the numbers were kind of off. And
interesting.
It ended up being not as cool as I thought it would be.
Interesting. So the balance between like the damage you would take or the points you would spend is not. It's not like the decision is not.
It didn't feel that meaningful. Yeah. And to be fair, this is based only on read through, right? I've never actually played. I was also real disappointed. Why not physical, mental, social? Why did we have physical, mental?
Yeah,
right. It's kind of like, it just kind of shows you where Monty Cook's design thoughts are.
That's a good point. Yeah, right. Yeah, social damage would be the worst.
Yeah, is it supposed to have like a social character? Great. Why is there not a social pool point, right?
You're kicked off Twitter, basically.
Yeah, you are.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point. And it's another favorite aspect of it for you. It's a D20 rollover system, and a target number is established by 1 to 10 times 3.
Yep. Basically, yeah.
And the cipher of the name is kind of the one-time use bonus points that you get for you get awarded for various reasons.
Little artifact things and stuff.
So it gives you single-use advantages to certain rules or situations.
And you also have the famous GM intrusions, where like, okay, the GM can just say, this thing happens, here's your experience points. And it was cool where they gave you 2 points and you had to nominate under the player to get the second point. So there were parts of it that were cool. They seemed like very clumsy compels.
Interesting. Yeah.
Like, and it kind of like, the on paper it looked great. It kind of felt like the execution for me was off on like a lot of this stuff, or it touted being as like intuitive and kind of storytelling, and I'm like, no, it's not. This is crunchy as fuck. You just kind of glossed over some stuff with a coat of narrative paint.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so they're calling it, in the description on their website, they were calling it Rules Light, but you probably wouldn't agree. It's a little crunchier than you were.
It's crunchier than I would have liked, and if you are used to D20 style D&D, then yes, this is a good, I will cop to it, this is a good step away from that and towards more narrative systems, because like the core of things are still kind of similar, right? So it's not, but different enough where you go, oh, okay, I'm getting a different experience. For people who start with story games and other kind of narrative stuff, they look at this and go, what the fuck am I looking at?
Right. Well, that's a good point, though. Like, yeah, so, and I think a lot of these alternative systems that are done by bigger publishers that have experience in D&D are coming from that perspective. So, of course, it's not going to suit all gamers. You have to have come from.
Not. Yeah.
Very interesting. So I guess we'll change the name of the segment instead of Not the Best to Opening Old Wounds.
Yeah, sorry. Ask me how I really feel about it. Yeah.
Chris having to suffer through yet another thought through Numenera.
To be fair, it was also hard for me to divorce the system from the Numenera setting, which was, in my opinion, bland as fuck. Right? It's the everything kitchen sink. Right? Like, oh, you're a nano, which is a wizard. It could be magic. It could be nanites in your blood. It could be this. I'm like, well, then it's fucking nothing, right?
Right.
If everything is open,
right,
you can't really have a defined setting, and it could be whatever you want. Well, then, yeah. So who knows? Maybe like this SRD is great because there is no attached setting other than the elements of about the 4 classes and these descriptive skill bits that you get. So maybe it's great things will come out of this because we've stripped off the Numenera setting.
Interesting. Yeah, and we'll see. And and then also making so that same system working with the kind of folk magic of that Appalachian setting.
I really wonder how that is going to work. Yeah.
So that is interesting. So we'll see some iterations of this, and maybe it will redeem itself.
So you can do commercial stuff with this license.
Yes.
Right? Okay. And it wasn't okay. I haven't seen the recent Cortex Prime license. I gotta imagine this is better than that. Like Monty Cook Games doesn't immediately own anything you make with this, right?
Right. Yeah, and the description was they were trying to do something a little bit more like Mjorkborg as far as the licensing to really get the system out there and let people play around.
If they're doing it like Mjorkborg, I think you need to say, "Here's a logo."
Yeah,
slap it on anything you made from Mjorkborg. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. But I thought that was a funny thing. We have to use those interstitials too. That Not the Best is so awesome. So coming to an open game license near you is the Cypher system. So check that out if you want to do something that's not D&D, but is still D20.
Close to, but
yeah. Yeah, if any of those details sounded interesting to you,
not after I bashed. Sorry. I know there are people who like Cypher system. Bottom line, I was kind of disappointed in I felt how it was presented did not match up with what it actually was.
I see. Yeah, which is probably the case because they have to make it tempting, especially when you're doing Kickstarters. You really have to
I mean, Monty Cook can basically carry the stuff on his name,
right? So. I just clicked the pledge button. I didn't even. I just said, Monty, what?
Yeah.
Right. All right. So let's
take it down a notch.
Delve deeper into the evil that is asset management companies. So we were just informed that the kingdom, the country of Saudi Arabia, has bought $1 billion chunk of the Embracer Group.
Do we know how much the Embracer Group is worth to get an idea of how much that $1 billion gets them?
That gives them an 8.1% stake.
Oh, so not a lot.
Not huge. So Embracer is not BlackRock or whatever. Right. They're not one of those $1 trillion yet. I mean, they're still growing. Those tentacles are reaching out. So they've made, and they're calling this another investment in the video game industry. So for a while, Saudi Arabia has kind of had its eye on this business. And I think when it's started to shift to this games as service kind of thing, like how mobile games work and how a lot of the online games work, where they can live for a decade of just microtransactions and updates and skins and things. And so that they generate billions of dollars instead of that one season purchase. So now the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has a 8.1% stake in the Swedish gaming behemoth Embracer Group, and that also is comics and it's gaming, tabletop and stuff. It's getting everywhere. So and that's going to be Savvy Gaming Group's through their whatever the shares were issued through Savvy Gaming Group, and that was how things were reported. And so the Embracer Group's CEO Lars Wingefors said that over the past few years, Saudi-based entities have become one of the most significant investors in the global gaming market, and the games market in MENA, the Middle East, North Africa, is one of the fastest growing, with 5.7 billion in 2021. So I guess also the mobile and online is growing in that region as well. So that's what probably brought it to their attention. All their kids are the whales for Fortnite and everything. So so that's causing them to be much more active in investing and looking for companies in the U.S. and Western Europe. So we don't know what this quite means, but people aren't in love. The companies that are being more aware of kind of being socially conscious and politically active are not really crazy about this. And Embracer Group has recently acquired a few studios, and there was a recent example of I think it was a tournament that one of the companies backed out on because of
who was sponsoring it.
So they were sponsoring it, and a company backed out because of the their human rights and anti and LGBT stances. It was making some companies a little self-conscious of dealing with this kind of investment. So it's giving opportunities, but it's also making people a little bit worried about what this means and who is actually funding it.
With an 8% share, I don't really think they'll be doing anything, right? This is I'm not an investor. My takeaway here is that it's just, okay, hey, let's diversify your portfolio a bit, right?
Right.
And the Embracer Group owns a lot of stuff. So it kind of seems like a decent purchase, right? Like you said, it's games, comics, probably got like distribution networks, and why not? So
and so companies that Saudi Arabia does have a piece of already include Nintendo, Capcom, Nexon, NSK. So and there has been pushback. The pushback was specifically from Riot Games, which is surprising because they've had a lot of sexual harassment charges in their company. But an esports partnership they broke up because of the reputation of Saudi Arabia. And so what this also means is now game reviewers are going to have to be very careful about any Saudi-backed games, Saudi-funded games that they give bad reviews to, because as we know, in certain foreign consulates, you go in but you don't come out. So we may have a whole level of danger now. So video game journalists are going to be this new heroic kind of roguelike.
No, I think they'll all just okay. I don't read video game reviews because I don't do video games. The few reviews I do seem to be like they're already pay for play. So it's just kind of like,
Yeah, in Japan especially, it's just like an open secret that it's like, if you see the advertising on the front cover, that's going to be the best reviewed game, in the issue. So and they've tried to avoid that, but I guess that industry just makes it's so incestuous, and there's a weird between the game press and game companies. They're trying to make this impermeable membrane, but so many people go from game journalism to game developer or game exec. It's like, well, how does that happen? Just like how people jump between pharmaceutical companies and the government in the U.S. Right. Yeah, it's that same sort of thing that they just can't stop. Yeah. But so the Embracer, it gets darker. We're going to have to come up with a really dark graphic for this. It just gets darker and weirder.
Make the screen black.
The screen. We should just
tentacles come down.
Everything just gets. So it's just getting uglier and uglier. So I'm looking forward to what North Korea and some other companies getting on board with Embracer, so we can have some real darkness. But so who knows? We'll keep updating you on all the misdeeds of this mysteriously named group. And it's so funny because they they seem to be, yay, this is great, and maybe we'll open a branch office in the Middle East. And
Well, they're the company. They kind of have to, like, everything they do has to be great.
Right? Yeah, no, that's true. Because the investors otherwise will get a little shaky. But yeah, I thought that was So Saudi base. So just when you thought China was the invading all of your entertainment, it turns out Saudi Arabia is pretty active in it too. So think of all those human rights you're violating when you watch your favorite entertainment.
Right. Ouch.
All right. Anyhow, so that will do it for this week.
Sweet.
And so we'll keep you posted. So where can people find you?
On Twitter, as always. It's Hivemind, HYVEMYND. Instagram, too, which is basically only now little square light box photos of all the miniatures I'm putting together.
Nice.
That's what Instagram is for, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So have you used any glue recently, or is things still...
A little glue. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I've got a Stargrave Mercenary and Trooper sprue, because I just couldn't not buy them, arriving soon. So I haven't glued any more of the Starbarians or Stargrave crews together, because I kind of want to hold off and see what arms and stuff I get on those other sprues. Right. Yeah. But a few things are getting glued together. Yeah. Nice. And blue tack, it's great for kind of like with the mock-up. You're like, okay, that looks cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks, and it's very photographable too, so you can see the configurations. And like you were saying before, I'm so surprised how great the North Star minis, like between even like the genres of the fantasy and sci-fi.
Apart from like filing down like a nub on the head, they all fit together.
That's great. Yeah, so their scale, wonderfully consistent. Excellent.
So how about you?
So I am still doing a single panel gag cartoon that I do 2 a week, and I draw that on a live stream. So look for Abuse Cartoons on Twitch and YouTube. And you can watch me draw it, and as well as eat things from Japanese convenience stores. So
food, I hope.
Yes, mostly. So
the soap tastes a bit off.
And if you'd like to read that cartoon, you can go to gocomics.com/domesticabuse. And if you'd like to support what we're doing with the weekly, please visit patreon.com/upturntable and become a weekling. Yeah. We have that level, the strongest of all levels.
Yep, the strongest of all levels, the weekling. Love it.
And I just changed our category on Twitch to talk show podcast.
Ooh.
I guess it's a new, I've never seen that before.
Nice.
So maybe we'll actually get people watching us on Twitch a bit more, because we're in the right category now. Ah. So I have to remember to change that when we stream tonight, because it's always something new. But so hopefully if you found us on Twitch, please give us a follow, and you'll be notified of when we go live. And an upturn table for everything that we're doing on the website. And like we were talking about before the cast, the prologue for Chronopia is going to be live this weekend. So Saturday night, North American time, Sunday morning in the Pacific. And if you want to see it now and in 4K, become a patron or a YouTube member. Yep. So click the join button below the video. Somewhere. And if you're listening to this audio version, I don't know where you're clicking, but so that'll give you access to that right away. And I'll be there in the chat when that premieres. So let us know how we did. And and there'll be more to come as far as lore videos and fiction and everything else. So that's it for this week.
Yep, cool. Later, mortals.
Goodbye.
Sweet.
All right.
So I'll be over my usual time. Like, I'll definitely get you before, 6:30.
Okay.
My goodness.
Go. Here's that chat. So let me do a 30 seconds of silence here. I think we've got a, I'm hearing a fan or something that's making a little noise. So I'll take that out of the audio podcast. So give me a second here and I will get rid of that sound. Okay, so just a sec. All right, that should be enough. Yeah, I should have a graphic for the moment of silence. All right, so let's take a look at the chat. So yeah, good to see you, Joe. Joe and K5 are in the chat right away. And Miguel says, social damage seems like a horrible idea for an RPG campaign. That's true. Yeah, it could be pretty brutal. I guess everyone will just be stunned in mock silence. Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of something that has the Powered by the Apocalypse, like the monster hearts. I think basically like strings and things. The social mechanics are pretty heavy. Like there's not, harm is still physical harm in that game, but there's a lot of like weird dynamics where you can shut people down so that they can't interact socially at all, kind of breaking all of their strings or not, making sure they don't have any social advantages. Yeah, but it's a good point that Chris brought up, which is like that is the focus. Obviously that is the focus, like fantasy adventure game. And as things have gotten a bit more social, people are, and that's that's the thing that they kind of complain that they are trying to put into D&D. 5e is trying to create reasons or ways that you can use the system for only for social interaction, but we'll see. Miguel also said, rewards. Who told you I was going to pay the crest reward to people like you? Yeah, that's true. You get such a low social status that's like, yeah, no, we're not dealing with you guys anymore. But there is, even the 4th edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay maintained that social status thing. So basically there are NPCs you can't interact with because of your social status, and they won't even... it creates a barricade, and only certain people in your party, like you have to rely on. So it's not only like the face of the party, but it's like the person with a social status that has to be interacting with the magistrates or, whoever in the town, because they won't have anything to do with thieves and odd other folks, rat catchers and things. I don't think have a lot of social status. Get out of my shop. Yeah, that's true, Miguel. It could completely shut down the any interaction in the game, kill things, and be a social outcast. Yeah, games as service. Oh, Diablo Immortal. That's right. Yeah, I kept calling it Eternal, I think. Yeah, that's right. Diablo Immortal. Yeah, don't you guys have phones? The amazing, something $1,000 to actually max out your character mobile game. Yeah, somebody made such a good point that if you're even going to bother getting into Diablo Immortal, why don't you just buy a Switch and Diablo 3? There's an interactive online component of that. It's going to be a much better experience, and no paywalls, no drip, of your, there's no loot boxes. There's nothing that's going to ruin your life, basically, trying to get those legendary drops. Some games have tried a reputation system, but never like that. Yeah, that's true. A social thing may be maybe a bit much. Right. Yeah, 110. That's right. 110,000 was the number that they were throwing around for. Yeah, what it cost to like completely max out your character. Or I heard if you're going to play completely free to play, you're not going to pay for anything. It took 10 years. 10 years of real-time play. And some of the mechanics just sound, I mean, it does sound, not to sound too prejudiced, but does sound like a Chinese developer in some of the tactics that they were using. Like you have to pay real money to start a guild, and then you can be kicked out of that guild after you've paid real money to start it. And there were things like the daily rewards. This is a pretty common mobile game thing, but daily rewards build up, and if you miss a single day of logging in, then you just lose everything. Like it's a scale that every day you log in, you get a better and better reward. But if you miss a single day, it doesn't stay there and wait for you to come back. It just completely disappears. So there's a lot of frustrating shenanigans, and also the systems are intentionally explained very cryptically or very vague in how certain things work. So trying to get you to kind of buy things and do things like right away you can hit a wall where you have to do a dungeon with like a legendary crest, and a legendary crest costs this certain currency. There are other ways to get it, but if you walk right into that, you can just say, oh, I gotta spend $199 right now just to go into this dungeon. So it's it's pretty poorly handled, and I don't think it's a good first step for Blizzard Activision to be part of Microsoft now. I don't think this is the best game for it. But like people were saying, though, this could be something that creates revenue for them much better than WoW or sadly, than WoW or anything ever did, because mobile games, once you get the whales in there competing on leaderboards, then you get huge revenue right away. Yeah, but I don't know. I just don't know why they would hurt their reputation, or if they even think they have any reputation left doing that kind of nonsense. So Miguel said, without the funny enough for China, the presence of an overbearing dictatorial government that might punish your company harshly if you go too far. Yeah. That's true. And there's still, like they were talking about, like loot boxes. There's certain places in like Northern Europe and stuff that have outlawed loot boxes entirely. So I guess this game doesn't get released in certain markets, because it doesn't legally qualify. It qualifies as gambling, so like kids aren't going to be playing it. Yeah, I don't know that. Diablo Immortal. That was such a weird move, and they have already started to promote Diablo 4 to try to like take focus away from this. But I think they really want Diablo Immortal to be a success because they want that constant income that only a mobile game will give you. But do you want those customers? I don't know. Yeah, it seems a shame that they're taking an IP and just slapping it on a very standard mobile game mechanics. But people have said though that the play loop of Diablo Immortal is very Diablo. It feels right. It feels correct and authentic to the original game. But you can still play the original game. I mean, Diablo 3 is still a thing. And I just played like a Java version of Diablo. I think it was just original Diablo that was just running in a Java window on a website. So yeah, there's ways to get your Diablo on that doesn't involve thousands of dollars. And I think it was a YouTuber or somebody spent like $3,000. They spent like $3,000 on premium stuff and didn't get a single legendary drop. So yeah, it's very random and luck based. So who knows? And yeah, now that we know that China and Saudi Arabia are all over invested in these companies, do you really want to throw your money away? Tencent went a step too far for the guys in Beijing and ended up having to lock players out of their games after 1 hour of gameplay. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because China did pass that law of like if you're under 16 or whatever, you have a limited amount of gameplay time. Yeah, that had to be really brutal. I mean, I guess it's a big chunk of the market, but it's not the whole market. But I can see when they started to limit, like they forced, you have to register with a real some sort of identification that shows your age, and then you'll be limited to how you can play. And yeah, I remember that. I remember when those changes happened that Tencent, yeah, got on the wrong side of that. And that's so dangerous, because I think Tencent is like the liaison company. Like anybody foreign wants to release, any foreign companies want to release their game in China, and it usually is kind of shepherded by Tencent. The release is done, the localizing and everything is done by Tencent. So they're how foreign games get into the Chinese market. So they could really hurt themselves if they get on the wrong side of the Communist Party. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, some strange strange stories this week. That the Secret Weapon minis was very depressing. I hope it doesn't really matter. There will be no consequence, but I hope we do find out after everything legal is settled. People will talk online about what the real situation was, because that seems pretty bad. I don't know if there was some sort of licensing deal that went wrong. Yes. Yeah, we're going to see more and more of that as so much Hollywood and like Western entertainment is invested in by China. If they get enough of a controlling stake, then yeah, you're going to have to clear everything. And I think Disney and certain companies are already doing that. They're changing posters and all kinds of stuff just to make sure that it's going to do well in China. And then don't cop to it when they're talking about how inclusive and socially conscious they are. They don't talk about what they do in other countries to make those audiences happy. Yeah, it's very strange, the the weird mixture of signaling and profit seeking that doesn't match all that well. Yeah, we'll keep seeing that. I'm sure newspapers and everything are going to keep having that same problem. If you want to make money, there's only certain ways. Yeah, it really is. Yeah. China's. Yeah, Miguel said China's or Disney's China attitude is shameful. Yeah, I agree, Miguel. It's really. I mean, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth, which is kind of what everybody that lives under communism has to do anyhow. But I can't believe an American corporation as loaded as Disney is going to pander like that and really try to serve that master. And they're not doing well at all. I mean, they don't have any of the kind of nostalgia, retro cred in China, because the properties just don't exist. No older people have any exposure to Disney products unless they were watching illegal VHS and DVDs at some point. So yeah, the market is is completely different. But who knows? Yeah, I just saw there was a weird article when Zuckerberg's, this is just China related, not really gaming related, but when Zuckerberg's first son, I think, was born, first kid, and maybe he only has one kid, was born, he had some dinner with Xi Jinping, the head of the president, prime minister, the overlord of China, and named his kid, I guess his wife is Chinese American, named his kid in honor of the head of China, gave his son the same name. That's just scary and weird that stuff like that is happening, because you just want to have that good relationship. Remember, I named my son after you, so Meta can do whatever they want in China, right? You got to get that Chinese Facebook going. But yeah, all that stuff is so nauseating. Yeah, always. Yeah. Of course. It was the racists in America that shrunk John Boyega's image on those posters. It had nothing to do with Chinese racism. Yes, of course. Yeah, I don't know how long that's going to go on. And, yeah, it's just impossible. It's an impossible thing to do, is do these two things at the same time. And as there is more investment from the Middle East and North Africa, which is predominantly Muslim, there's so many things in Disney movies that can't exist, in that culture. So I don't know. I don't know what they are thinking. But yeah, we will do some more of this next week. Oh yeah. So anybody, so this is for the patrons and people that are listening live on the live stream. So tonight we're going to be playing some of the Brawl Arcane 28. So a 28 millimeter, but it's grid based. So a grid based miniatures kind of arena battle game. So we'll play some of that, explain the rules, and so Chris found this and was on the Facebook page and everything for it, and likes the system, and it seems fun. It seems like a fun kind of arena battle. So with magic users and minions, and you roll for spells and stuff. So yeah, the mechanics should be fun. It's definitely very different from Frostgrave or anything we've played before. So again, we're gonna probably be running through a few of these 28 millimeter games, but hopefully the live streams will give you a little taste. And we're doing like learning games, so we'll be going through the rules in a lot of detail, so you can learn how to play just by watching, and it gives us an excuse to paint, little war bands and get miniatures together. So we'll be doing some of that, and Stargrave will be coming up, and then there's Turnip 28 and a bunch of stuff that we'll want to be trying. So yeah, my warband is all 3D printed, and I think Chris's is going to be all from the North Star miniatures. So we will see. Yeah, really, we are getting to that weird, cyberpunk dystopia with how the weird incursion of corporations into politics, and how things are just like weirdly blended. How another country is just another company to negotiate with. Yeah, it's bizarre. We want access to your markets. Yeah. Oh yeah. Did you guys see the trailer for the Cyberpunk 2077 anime that's coming out? So the a decent Japanese studio is which is good, because a lot of times they just do those, cut rate garbage quality like Korean studios to produce IP animation. So a decent Japanese studio is doing a cyberpunk animation, and it looks pretty good. It's very anime looking, but not generic. It has a nice style. So this is the I'm trying to think of the Kill la Kill, and they've done a bunch of popular anime, and this is they've got the cyberpunk license now. So I think that's coming out soon. I'm not sure if it's Netflix. I think it's on Netflix. But speaking of cyberpunk, so yeah, I'm curious, and we'll see if that reinvigorates people's interest in that game, because I think a lot of people got turned off of the game early on. So we'll see. We'll see if that brings interest back. And there's been leaks that there's going to be some decent DLC for that game. So if they can time stuff up, they kind of ride that wave of people noticing it because of the anime series, and then get that into people buying some DLC. We'll see. Although I don't know if they're going to be able to get away with selling DLC. That game was so poorly launched. They might have to give us a lot for free. Who knows? But yeah, so curious how that will look and be in total. I guess it's going to be a matter of voice acting and stuff too, because we know it's going to look good and be well animated. It's just a matter of the writing and the voice work, how annoying that is. And I just hope it doesn't like fall into the anime tropes, like it's just a cyberpunk themed goofy anime, so it's the same sort of characters. I hope they stick with the kind of setting, the bleakness of the cyberpunk setting, but we'll see how that goes. All right, so that'll do it for this week. So thanks everyone for being here in the chat and watching the live stream. So Joe, K5, and Miguel, it was good to see you guys. So take care, and we'll be back again next week to do the same thing. So yeah, we've been lucky. No no shutdowns, no interruptions. We've been doing it live for a couple of weeks, so hopefully it will continue. And look for us tonight. So subscribe to the channel if you'd like to be notified when we go live this evening, and we'll see you in the chat then. If you're up, it's probably going to be early morning. So take care, and see you next time. Goodbye.